Welcome to the Soft Spoken platform. I got a special guest with me here today. Introduce yourself to the world, man. Let us know who you are, man.
Hold on, my brother. My name is Adrian Rodriguez. I've been in this remnant for about a year now, and it's just been a blessing. I'm happy to be here. It's an honor to, be able to contribute to the growth of your podcast.
Yes, sir, man. So tell us, man, about the development into who Adrian is today. What were some of those lessons that you still go by today? What are some of those things that you value that makes you who you are today?
Yeah, man. It goes back to, my parents.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, they're very kind, warm people. There was no hostility or hatred in their hearts at all. And they passed that down onto me and my siblings. So if you interact with me today, you can see how calm I am, how, just I don't really get rattled too easily because, I've never been in situations where I had to, fight or I had to fight for my life or I had to worry about, is this going to be my last day on earth?
Mm-hmm.
I never had to do all that growing up. I had a pretty good childhood. So, that was definitely one of the foundational pieces for me in being who I am today, for sure.
So you had how many siblings do you have?
I have an older sister and a younger brother.
Older sister and a younger brother?
Yeah.
So that middle child, man, you gotta get into that, man. You always hear about the middle child, feeling like they left out, man. Did you have some problems with that growing up?
I wouldn't say feeling left out, but I definitely felt different,
Mm-hmm.
right? My mother would tell me stories about myself growing up. She told me about my sister, how she would just be active all the time. She'd just be running around. And then, she would tell me about my younger brother, how he always had to be around her. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I kind of just was doing my own thing. I never really wanted to. I always had the capacity to be able to entertain myself at a young age.
Right.
I never really needed other kids to play with, and she would call me her like angel child sometimes, because when I was a baby, I didn't really cry too much, pretty much just ate and slept, So, um, yeah, like I said, it wasn't really feeling left out. It's more so I was just different. And that's all praise to the Most High. That's just
Right.
the way he made me out the womb.
Mm-hmm.
So
it'd be crazy, man, because how everybody have that experience, like coming into the remnant, how everybody, like there was kind of like, I don't like the word black sheep because I looked that up. It's like a negative connotation to that, but feeling like they're different. It's like man, I'm in this environment, but I feel, okay, I'm gonna go.
It's like you navigate the environment.
Yeah, you navigate it completely different. So, what were some of those things your father instilled into you? You can say mother and father, out of both of them.
I wouldn't say it was they would sit us down and talk to us. I think it was more how they operated in their everyday lives, just seeing that. And it just automatically kind of just, they passed that down to us. I mean, there's some things that, I remember my father, he'll tell me sometimes like, Adrian, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And that always just stuck with me.
Best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come. So it always kept me moving forward, right? But for the most part, man, my father he had a stable job, so he was working a lot, right? And then in my younger years, my mother, she was a stay-at-home mom, so we became of age, and then she started getting her own business. So they were more focused on like providing and stuff. But in terms of like them sitting us down, like, all right, in this scenario, this is how you move. In this situation, and then in this situation, you move like this, right? It wasn't like that. It was more so, they just operated how they operate.
Yeah.
And then we, as kids, we're sponges, right? So we're able to like see all that. Like, okay, and then apply it to ourselves.
Yeah. So you from Houston, right?
Houston, yeah. Born and raised.
Born and raised from Houston, man. So what was, you got both parents in the house. What were some of those? What is it like moving around in Houston though? Like, I know that culture is a little different.
Houston, like for me personally, I wasn't really the type to go out like that. So I mean, that isn't necessarily a question for me. But for me, just moving around Houston, um, it's definitely a vibrant city. I noticed, everybody's real cool. Everybody's, like I said, it's pretty vibrant. Like if you're into like nightlife and stuff like that, like Houston's got that for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best cities in the country in terms of that. But yeah, for me, I didn't really move in that space. I was more so, trying to figure out who I was, trying to figure out my thing, and so going back to that question, I mean, I wish I could answer that for you, brother, but um,
which
yeah,
is cool, because
yeah,
everybody, depending on where you was, like if you was more like I'm gonna be, everybody move different in their cities.
yeah, yeah,
Some people like the nightlife, some people like the laid back, what I'm saying, scenery. I was both, I
yeah,
like
right.
both. I don't mind the city, and I don't also mind the quiet. You know what I'm saying?
hmm Yeah, I
So
was more so on like the
quiet
quiet
side.
side for sure.
hmm So man, you got to tell us, man. You mentioned remnant. Here we go. You know, so growing up, you kind of like you not kind of, but you're in your own world. You seeing things. You taking the best is yet to come. What led you to remnant?
I mean, the simple answer is the Most High, but
Mm-hmm.
going into like the detail of it, there's situations, he allows us to go through situations, right? So I first had to talk about, some things he allowed me to go through, build it up, and then be able to go back into those spaces using the remnant eyes, right? So for me, around the age of 8 to 9, I had developed asthma, right? And that's when I started to like gain weight, and I wasn't able to run around with the kids and stuff, and I'll get teased for it. So this developed a certain insecurity within myself,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that carried with me as I got older, going into high school. So I'll take that insecurity and operate in that, in all areas of my life, whether it's relationships with other people. Um, but the only space I felt truly free was on the baseball field, right? I didn't have any of that insecurity. I was just, I was confident, just free, man. But outside of the field, I was just this insecure guy trying to fit in with everybody, try to get people's approval,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then, so train the environment in terms of like what I thought was valuable in terms of being, I won't say a man because I mean you're in high school, right? But what was valuable with the males, with the young men around me was, how many bodies do you have when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like women, right? So I thought I had to move that way in order to get approval from my peers, right? But in reality, that wasn't who I was. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, that's just how I was moving. So in one of my relationships with this girl, when it was time to be it to me, I wasn't able to perform in that capacity. And this happened multiple times, and it just added to my insecurity, and it was just very humiliating for me. So that just added on to what I was already carrying from my childhood, right? And this happened, I think, I think it was my junior year, yeah. But on the baseball field, I was cool, man. I was aspiring to be a professional baseball player, right?
Mm-hmm. What was it about baseball that made you feel free compared to like the outside world?
I don't know. It was just natural to me, man.
Yeah.
You know,
You just already knew how to operate in that space.
yeah, it was just given to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just the mindset that I had within that space, like it wasn't taught to me or nothing. I just had it, and I just operated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going back to that incident, so that happened my junior year. That situation ended, so I was carrying that. But I was like, all right, I still got baseball, so I'm cool, right? But then that summer, going into my senior year, I had hurt my shoulder, and then my whole senior year, I couldn't play at all. So I was trying to rehab, going to multiple physical therapists. I got a cortisone shot. I don't know. I was trying everything, but nothing would would work, and so it was like the dream that I had of being a professional baseball player was kind of just crushed me right there. So I was already carrying stuff from in terms of my insecurities, and then that situation happened with this young lady, right? And now it's now there's this hopelessness, there's this despair that kicked in, because it's like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
Right. So that's when I started to dive deeper into, like, I was smoking a lot of weed, I was getting into like pornography heavy, just like outlets, right? Just trying to find a sense of comfort. And yeah, so I was dealing with all that for years, man. And I was also, I was going to mechanic school just to see if that was something I wanted to do, actually going to college, things like that, just trying different things out, but nothing would really stick with me. It wouldn't resonate with me, right? So then, fast forward to, I say it's around COVID time, actually. Around COVID time is when I was just tired, man. I was just tired. I just felt so drained. The way I viewed myself, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I would be like, I would think to myself, if I was dead right now, I wouldn't have to be dealing with all this. I wouldn't have to be going through all this,
And
right?
that was just the initial insecurity
Yeah.
trying to, yeah.
Yeah, you see how the enemy kind of developed that,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And he made it so heavy to the point where you asking yourself,
It's like,
is
what's the
dying
point?
better?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
dying better. But there's also something in me that, as soon as I thought that, like, nah, man, like, that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had that in me. It was just natural, right? So yeah, going into COVID, I remember just I was in my room, man, and I was crying. I was talking to the Most High. I'm like, God, I'm tired. I'm just tired. Like, I'm tired of doing things this way. I'm tired of operating like this, feeling like this. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm completely lost. It was at that moment, that's when things kind of started to happen in my life, right? So I remember, you know, so at that time I was in San Antonio. I was going to school, and I was going to move back to Houston with my parents. And I was in Houston. I had gotten a job, and my parents, they were moving my brother and our stuff out, put in a U-Haul truck, right? So they were over there, and while I was at work one day, I get a call from my mom. She's like, "Adrian, we've been robbed. Like, all the U-Haul truck, everything's been taken, you know." And I noticed during that situation, most people kind of just, it would affect them, right? It's like, oh, all my stuff is on the truck and stuff. But for me, I wasn't really concerned about that. I was like, Mom, are you okay? Are you, Dad, okay? Right? We all held a gunpoint at all or anything like that? I definitely noticed that.
You was walking in an abandonment and didn't even know you was walking in an
I
abandonment.
didn't at all. Exactly, man. That's well put. But yeah, it was also like, looking back on it, he was taking away the value of materialism from me, right? And it was at that point I was like, yeah, materialism isn't really something, you know, to exude a certain amount of energy into. I mean, yeah, it's cool, you know what I'm saying, but not up to the level that I had it at. Right? So he took that away.
Oh, so you had a high value
Yeah, because
of
of
the
that
material things you
insecurity,
had.
because of the comfort it gave
Right,
me, right?
right, right.
Like the sense of value it gave
Yeah.
me, right? So, yeah, that
So we gotta be
situation.
careful with that, because just that thing right there, that because it was a value, it's what made it. And you, because like he knew what you was going through on the inside, he had to take away the outside in a place when you was seeking him.
Exactly.
That was,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that was the first thing that happened. And then from there, I was introduced. I started to become introduced to, like, knowledge outside of what I already knew. Right. So that's when I was introduced to, like, the red pill space, and From there, I found this guy. He was teaching like alpha type of principles, but he also had like a spiritual channel as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's when I started getting into the word a little bit more, and I was introduced to the Deuteronomy.
And how old are you at this time?
Let's see, this was around.
You said 2020.
Yeah, that incident happened in 2020. This was probably, I want to say late 2020, early 2021.
Hmm.
Yeah, this was about 5 years ago. So at that time, I was 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I started getting the word a little bit. I started reading Proverbs. Proverbs was really heavy for me, right? And then, like I mentioned, I read about the Deuteronomy 28, or I learned about it. And then that's when I kind of, my perspective on America changed from that point on, like what it really was, who God's chosen people actually were. Because I grew up in the church. At first, our family was Catholic, and then we transitioned into Christianity. And like being in both those spaces, I didn't really feel anything. Like as a kid, I was like, man, I'd rather just sit home and play video games than go to church, right? But yeah, when I read that, it definitely changed me and made me want to search out even more, keep learning this thing. Right? So I continued with this one guy for maybe a year or two. And then he was also teaching like, hey man, the gifts that God gave you that you were born with, that's what you were put here to do, right? And that's when I immediately thought about baseball again.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I was working a couple jobs, and I decided to quit those jobs and start investing in the baseball again, right? Um, so yeah, I was living with my brother at the time in Houston, and we were just training every day, just training. And when our lease was up at this apartment, we had to move back in with our parents again. And at this time, they just had a lot of stuff going on in their house, right? My grandmother moved in, and my step grandfather had passed away, so she had to move in with us. And the way she is, she's kind of like, she had like OCD kind of, if things weren't done a certain way, like how she saw it, she would just trip about it.
Yeah.
Just create a lot of stress for everybody. And then on top of, my parents have like 3 little dogs. You know how little dogs are. They bark at everything that moves, right? All that. On top of like the house, it just wasn't clean. I mean, now I understand because they're working, right? So they don't have time for all that. Just where I was, it was just because I came from that apartment, coming from that apartment with my brother. It was a peaceful environment. Right? Yeah. We would be on top of like cleaning it and everything. All the dishes were done, and going from that to the current situation with my parents, it was just 2 totally different worlds. And, we would try and help them out, like clean and stuff, organize everything, but they just didn't want that to happen. And then I remember I was still learning from this one guy, right? And I remember him saying, if there's no peace there, then there's no God. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to, leave this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I thought of, all right, where can I go? All right. Eventually, my brother and I, we transitioned into a storage unit. I figured like, it's gonna be quiet there, right? Might find
Go
some
to the
peace
quiet
there.
space.
Yeah, quiet space. Nah, man. When that happened, that's when I realized how real life can be in terms of responsibility, and learning how to not live within your emotions, right? Because I remember a situation, the first week I got there, man, remember I had really bad migraines, and I was just in shock from the whole, that quick change, that from, having meals, made and all that to actually having to almost be in a survival type of mindset when it
Mm-hmm.
came to this, right? So I remember one morning I had this bad migraine and I had to go throw up and everything just from the shock, stress, everything. And I was working with, or we were working with a buddy of mine, his furniture business, and we had a job. And my brother was telling me about it, and like everything in me was like, "Nah, man, I really don't want to do this."
Mm-hmm.
Then something else came up. It was like, "Nah, like, I mean, your brother was relying on you to take care of your half of all the expenses, right? So you don't really have an option of sitting out regardless of how you feel." So that's when I decided, to go ahead and go with this job. Whereas in the past, I'll be like, nah, I'm not doing this, right? So it's that little shift in mindset right there. That's when it kind of carried me into, not living through my emotions,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. And yeah, from that situation, we moved in together into a studio apartment because in Texas it's illegal to live in a storage unit, right? So unit manager, he found out, gave us 3 days to move out. So we moved into a studio, and it was at this point I was just ready to kind of just be on my own. I was I just had this thing in me to kind of just develop myself, and be alone in that because and plus I was trying to get away from like smoking weed and stuff because my brother was starting, he was into it
Mm-hmm.
heavy, and then in the studio apartment you're kind of just living on top of each other, right? And yeah, so I ended up got me a little car, 1999 Toyota Camry, it's the car I drive today, and I eventually just moved out and was sleeping in my car for about a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I realized I had to like humble myself, so to speak, and I ended up getting a job and moving back in with my parents. So yeah, from there, I still sense I had more developing to do, right? And I was still trying to seek after the Most High, and you know, moving back in with my parents, I still had this desire to just be on my own, right? Be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I thought of the idea to start this over the road business, right? Because the primary was to seek God, because I knew I wasn't there yet. And so this over the road thing, it would enable me to be by myself, and that's where I did feel His presence, by myself. So got everything I needed in terms of the over the road stuff. Started driving, and then that's when my first mentor, his messaging started becoming kind of hollow, started becoming the same to me. So that's when I started seeing sinful P's videos on my timeline, pulling up on my YouTube, and just watching his videos for about a month or so. He always referenced Andre, Gorgeous Dre. Andre Taylor said this, he said that, you know, and that's when I started wondering, like, who's this Gorgeous Dre character? Who's this Andre Taylor guy? And his videos started popping up on my timeline. Right, this was all happening when I was going over the road, and so I started watching Dre's videos, and uh, yeah, at first it was a challenge because I still had the messaging I had from the first guy, and then Dre's messaging. Some of the information was combating,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
As far as what?
in terms of, so this guy I was initially listening to, he claims he had his own thing, But once I got into Dre's messaging, I started to realize he's kind of just talks like a red pill guy a little bit. He just claims he's kind of his own thing. But that stuff was still in me, right? The perspective I had on women, perspective I had on money, things of that nature. But Dre, he just cut all that out, right? It's like, nah, it's about the man, the man you are. Right, it's not about any of those things.
So the first guy was teaching you have to have those materialistic things.
He was saying things like, if you don't have your own business, you're not really a man, essentially.
So that's like Kevin Simmons.
Pretty much like that, right? And on this first guy's primary channel, he was basically just about women, and that's when I was like, he just sounds just like the red pill guys,
right?
But he's just claiming he's not that, but in reality he is. So right then and there, that's when I knew, Dre's messaging is something where I want to be. So it's been off and running ever since.
So that initial, because you said the first guy was teaching on materialistic things, and Dre was teaching it's not about none of that, but the man
principles, character,
principles. So that's more so what triggered you. What was the one thing that you, because he have a lot of great sayings. What is something that you use to like apply today that broke you out of maybe that shell that you was in before?
Specific message. Honestly, man, I think that's a little, because his, every class is like different, right? It's a different message in every class. So to say it was one thing is, I think that's too narrow. I think it's more of just an accumulation of the different subjects he was touching on, but the foundation of it being principles, integrity, honor, manhood, that type of thing. He was able to encompass everything, right? So I don't think it was specific message. It was more so it was me watching video, just allowing the Most High to get all that stuff out of me, filling me with the information that Dre was teaching. Yeah. So I think that was it. It wasn't really one specific thing. It's everything. It's been like that ever since.
Yeah, I think more so. I was more so leaning towards like the question of, because on your path of discovering, like, wanting to develop yourself, like you was fighting those insecurities. That's what to say. Like, what was about the information that made you more so conquer that and want to, step into like that person you wanted to become? It's the culture? Was it just the manhood? Just truth, honesty?
Like the Most High said, like, I knew you from the womb. So it's like when I heard it, my sheep know my voice, and another they will not follow. Right. Yeah. So it was, when I heard it, I was like, okay, it kind of sounds familiar to me. But it's like with the stuff in me, it was somewhat blocking the my understanding of it at first, right? So but yeah, it's everything, man. The culture, manhood, truth, honesty, integrity. Because at the foundation of what it was, that's how I operated. But the world kind of made it seem like I wasn't enough, or that wasn't enough to uh, to I guess make it in this world or whatever. So when I had that insecurity, I believed what the world was telling me. Whereas now it's like, all right, this is who I was already, and it's just learning who I was and taking that world's perspective of me out of me. Now it's like, okay, now you view yourself. Now I view yourself from a rented perspective.
Yeah, that's universal, man. Just that language. So I also want to get into something too, because you coming from Mexican culture, right? You being in a Christian church. We don't bash the Christians, man. We let the Christians be what they be. But how can a Mexican or people from your ethnicity benefit from the information that Dre teaches, or just from like the culture? Like, what makes the culture for you to be like, man, I see myself in this. Like, I don't see, because people may look at it from the online and think, oh man, it's all black folks there. It's a black people thing, and once again, that's still like the outside world looking in. But you coming in and you're actually finding empowerment. You thought the Most High, and you end up leading to the very same thing that I'm here with you too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So how can you benefit from that? What made you feel accepted? Like, this is it. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Well, I think for Mexican Latino people out there, I think it's to not identify.
Mm.
Is that right? Because I don't really remember. I mean, physically, yeah, Mexican, I'm Latino, right? But subconsciously, I don't really remember allowing that to be my identity, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was more so, I always had that open space within me. But yeah, I think for the Mexican Latino community out there, I think it's first to disassociate with that, because with that comes with like a certain type of that's a whole nother culture within itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it's being able to understand, the power that this remnant brings over, the Mexican Latino community, the Black community, the Asian, the white, so on and so forth, right? And seeing how that this remnant kind of just
Yeah.
encompasses all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also like, you know, not everybody's gonna be able to hear what the remnant is speaking, right? And I was just one of those that was able to hear it
Yeah.
and run with it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But yeah, I guess for my people or the Mexican Latino community, they kind of just have to disassociate with that
Mm-hmm.
altogether. I think for them to at least be able to have an open mind about what this remnant is preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that perspective too, because I think when we was in Miami conference, and can't remember particularly who I was talking to, but it kind of hit me because our primary is submission and obedience.
Right.
So what makes us relatable to everybody is because everybody has a God that they're
Mm-hmm.
submitted and obedient to. We just,
It's like there's no race,
yeah, there's
there's
no
none of
like,
that here.
how can you put an ethnicity on submission and obedience? you know, like
Exactly.
how, like no matter who is coming from, how can you put a color on that ethnicity? Or only a certain group of people can be submitted and obedient. Like everybody's obedient to something, but what are you submitting and obedient to?
Right.
And then, like how you say in your personal life, how much power do you really want? Because if you align yourself up to this, it's only, or how we more so say like even Jesus or Yahweh Shah, we call him Yahweh Shah, but they call it Jesus. Like if you're only limited to what Jesus came to do, and Jesus said, man, I came through the Father. Jesus was able to move the way he moved because he was aligned himself with the
Yeah, it's
Father.
like
But
they
yeah,
stop right
so
there.
you can
Yeah.
only get so much of what Jesus conveyed. But the Most High allowed Jesus to expand because of what he was aligned up to,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we about. So it don't matter like where a person is at, and that's why I love when we can get people like you or just like us, just with that we had that understanding. Like, man, it ain't just about like you gotta open your mind up a little
Yeah.
bit, and you had that drive to seek, man. So in your journey of self discovery, man, do you feel fulfilled now? Do you feel like you found the truth,
Yeah.
and why?
Yeah. I do, man, because before I got into this, there's a lot of just uncertainty myself, uncertainty about life. Why did this happen? Why did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then coming into this information, I'm able to look back on my life, be like, okay, this is why this happened, this is why that happened. Going back to the incident with that young lady, I now realize, the Most High was protecting me from the world of you see how the male female interaction is today. And I was like, okay, I see. Like you're protecting me from that world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the conversation.
What do you mean protect you from that world? What was that of
the world of the class Dre did about the buck and the bed witch culture.
Right.
He was protecting me from that. And then going back to when I was hanging out with the family, Dre on Thursday, when Eddie was saying that Most High kind of, he didn't allow Eddie to venture too far out from his innocence, right? And I was like, man, as soon as he said that, it hit me immediately, and I was able to relate with that because there's so many instances in my life where he never allowed me to go too far.
He was kept sanctified.
That kept me right there. So when it came to like women, it came to like money, things like that, he never allowed me to go across a certain line or a certain point. Kind of just stayed right here. So, yeah.
That's one thing I want to add. I don't know if they can see me or not. One thing I want to add that what I love about this information is that, like what you just said, it be them confirmations that where you're at, I'm supposed to be here. Because when you experience it, it's only, you think it's like you're the only one.
Right.
And then when you hear somebody else say, well, yeah, when the Most High allowed this because of this right here, then it's like, oh man, I thought it would just, but that language right there.
Yeah.
And then bam, that starts the connection. And that's how we're family.
Mm-hmm.
When I put the call out, like I know it's remnant out there that don't know, but they all have experienced that thing where they don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So they run to the church, they run to the mosque, but they know it still don't fit because they don't know that, they don't understand that language.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get around each other and it's like, we don't know each other. We haven't been around each other. We haven't had a conversation, but we know the conversation. We know the same language. You know what I'm saying? And then that's where the connection starts.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the culture. That's family. That's that love. That's the colors. That's that boldness. That's all that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, so even on the language of innocence, so you're saying he was keeping you, he was shielding you from a lot of those things.
But when I was in the world, I was taking it as, like I wasn't doing enough to manifest this. I wasn't, I was this way. It was coming from like I was tearing myself down, so to speak, when I was operating the world. But once I came here, I realized the empowerment of what the Most High was protecting me from to be able to be here now and operate. So,
yeah. Even when you look at accountability, right? That's why I put like your ethnicity, like your identity on there, because even looking at your disposition, you already have like that, like man, like you have that humbling, you have that, like people can approach you and receive the culture through you. You see what I'm saying? Like you just have that openness. And the conversation we was having was like the whole broken spirit, like how you have to be broken for the Most High to even deal with you.
right.
So a lot of those things though that you felt like he was protecting you from, but you feel like, oh man, I'm not doing enough. Like why can I achieve what my friend is achieving?
Exactly.
He getting all this. And I had those same experiences. And I used to be like, man, why is it just not manifesting like I want to be? And it's like, man, what is it? But like I had to be in a space, for people to, it's like I don't have those things that, you probably could have had those experiences, but now you feel like a certain type of bravado about yourself. Like, yeah, man, why I did that? So now the people can't reach you because it's like, man, this dude think he all that. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a prideful type.
Yeah, it's like a prideful. You get all this.
Off,
yeah, so you kind of like, man, you ain't deal with, you ain't had to say, man, I can't really deal with you. Probably how some of your friends would probably feel. I know I've been around people like, if you ain't, man, you lame, And it's like, now you a part of this purpose, and it's like you can take in. So, any last words, man, for the people? Your title was self-discovery, man, because you've been digging deep to your personal life, man.
Say this, man. It's been once I started getting into this information, I definitely experienced a lot of adversity in terms of, questioning myself whether or not I actually belong in this information, because it's like, when I hear testimonies from the other guys, right? Most of the guys here, they've been through the streets. They've been in like life or death situations. They had to wonder, like, is this my last day here on earth, right? I never had to deal with that at all. I mean, I've had to. I was in a survival type of mindset, but it was never on that type of level, right? So I was questioning. I was definitely questioning myself in regards to that. But what kind of just eliminated that was like, well, there's a lot of people still in the streets out there, but they're not here, right? So that kind of just eliminated that. And then also, I was in that comparison stage. For whatever reason, I was comparing myself to Dre. And I was like, man, I don't think anybody can really compare themselves to Dre. Man, he's accomplished who he is. He's seasoned in this thing. So for me to compare myself where I'm at to him, it definitely was wearing me out at the time. And just going through things like that, I had to really continue just pressing for it. So what I want to say to the people out there, if they're new to this information, they're experiencing similar things like that, is to just continue pressing, because the answers will come when it's time for them to come. And that's definitely what
I want to add in something. So, because I know that's another thing that we say, like, keep pressing. Like, what does your keep pressing look like?
Never get complacent. Never get too comfortable. I remember I was talking to Dre and Eddie. We were out to eat, and I was basically telling them, like, ever since I've been in this information, I don't think I've ever felt a sense of relaxation, comfortability, just with where I was, because I knew if I ever stayed in this space, I wouldn't be able to grow and elevate, right? So that's what I believe, keep pressing means. And it's like not to dwell on the mistakes, just keep going,
right?
And eventually those things, it'll just be, you won't be able to see those things anymore. You'll just see the operation.
So, all praises, man. Y'all got it right there. Y'all heard it from Adrian, man. You got more to come, brother. I appreciate you for your time, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Powerful interview, man. Let's get it.